I'm making the Gnome wine bottle Christmas topper, and so I've cut out his beard, making sure to have the beard point down. And you can see here's the back of it. So the back won't show where the beard comes down past it. And it's easiest to cut faux fur with some embroidery shears and just cut the very backing of it. Make sure you're not cutting the actual fur or it's gonna look really choppy. Next, I've cut out 2 of the hat pieces. I have a little jingle bell I'm gonna put on the tip. And then I used some muslin and I cut out the nose. I'm also going to be using some craft glue. I find that this works pretty well. If you have fabric glue, that would probably be better. And then you'll need some pins, needles, and some thread. I'm going to be using both the white and black for different things. Before I start sewing, I'm going to use some of this fray check, and that's especially going to be important on this muslin because that will just rip right apart as I'm trying to gather the nose together. So I'm just going to do that all around the edge here. I'm gonna choose not to fold my fabric over, so I'm just gonna do this all along the edge of this part that isn't gonna be sewn. And it's probably unnecessary because I glue this down, and so the glue probably keeps all of the fibers from coming up. All right, and then you can see how my fur really sheds a lot. That's not a problem, but if you want to use the fray check along the fur, you can also do that. Make sure you let the fray check dry before you start sewing. This is such a small project, I think I'll just do that by hand. You'll want to line these up and you can pin it in place. Then I'm just going to sew across this edge right here. Now you're going to want to put your hat pieces together, right sides together. Make sure that fray check is dried. Mine is still kind of drying because that can make that stick together in the seam. Then I'm going to put some pins in here and we're going to sew along the edge all along here, and we're going to leave this front edge open. I did decide to use my sewing machine on these, and so I did not do well when I pivoted around here, so I just cleaned it up with a little needle and thread. If you got just kind of too close to the edge, you might want to use a little fray check on that area to make sure it doesn't come apart. Now we're going to turn our hat inside out. A long pencil might be helpful, a knitting needle. I have some tweezers and I like to use those to turn things inside out. right, so that is done. And my tweezers did go all the way through this fabric. It is a flannel, and it frays a lot. So I'm just gonna add a little fray check to that spot. And then this is gonna be the back. Gonna turn our beard inside out. Then we're gonna glue this on top of the beard. I was gonna use white thread for this, but nobody's gonna see it. So I'm gonna add a little ball of stuffing onto my nose. Sometimes it helps to get it a little tighter. And we can do a few of these basting stitches first. And this basting stitch is going to let us just completely gather this together. All right, now I'm going to start adding this stuffing to the middle. Then you'll just gather all of this and pull it tight. Now I'm going to go all the way through to the other side and do a few stitches like that to really keep it together. I might have too much stuffing in mine. Just keep going to get it into a nice little ball. Then at the end, you're just going to tie it off. I find it easiest to shape it on the water bottle and then pull it off carefully so it keeps its shape. We're going to put a lot of glue on the back of this. And then we'll just sneak it up under the hat. And press it down. Next, I'm just going to barely lift this up and glue all along this edge. And it's going to attach itself nicely to all that fake fur. If you would prefer to sew it, you can always do that. But with something like this, it doesn't get handled a lot, and so it doesn't need to stay too much in place. Then it's good to let this dry for a while before you lift up the back and do that. Now that my glue is dry, so my nose is secured with glue and the hat, and that has all dried, I'm going to secure each side of the hat, so just two sides. I'm going to use my needle and thread to make sure those are secure. And I'm using black thread, so I'm going to try to come into places where my fabric is black, so it really blends in nicely. I'm just going to do a couple of stitches here to make sure it doesn't come undone. The last thing I'm going to secure is the nose. The last thing that I'm going to do is secure the jingle bell to the tip of the hat, and you can sew this directly onto the hat from the outside, or you can scrunch it up a little bit to get your needle inside the tip, so that way it will hide your knot at the end. Another option is you can hang a hanger from the top right here so it can become a Christmas tree ornament. But I'm not going to do that today, so my gnome is all set, and it's just going to be the wine bottle topper.